fire and cost of living. I'm standing in front of this structure for a reason on this mound of snow. And yes, it's a calm day. I don't need these glasses. 11th or 12th of April. And yeah, we still have snow, as you can see. And I'm standing on a foot of it, maybe more, because we're not even, you see, that's ground level. But folks, welcome to my off-grid homestead in the forest in Canada. And I think when I don't have my reading glasses, so when I was trying to frame the structure, I don't know how much room is left around surrounding the structure, so you can see if there are any trees or evergreens or anything. But yeah, I'm standing in front of this structure for a reason, and if you haven't, I have at least one video on it, on how we constructed it, although it's not really it's a sort of a slideshow, and the pictures were taken with my old cell phone, because I didn't have a camera at that time, a few years ago when we built this, and at the time that camera was already old. So the technology would have been older and older anyway. And it's not a step-by-step. It's just what I could find as I was searching, see how I could put together a sort of a slideshow for you. Now that I have this camera, if nothing happens to it, if I do any more constructions, I'm hoping maybe a log cabin built. That'll probably be more step-by-step. Now if I can figure out how to do the time lapse, that would be even better. But I'm standing in front of this because recently when I posted that slideshow, somebody asked a very good question. What if there's a forest fire? The reason I think why this person asked the question, this viewer asked the question, which is a good one, is because this is mostly, if you go and look at that video, you'll see it's mostly built out of wood, with the exception of the windows and the metal roof, and there's some screws and nails that are obviously not wooden. Not obviously, but they're not wooden. Everything else is made out of wood. And so it's entirely flammable. And that was a very good question. Now, which kind of brings me to my, and I will address that, kind of brings me to my second topic for the day, and that is cost of living. So today is Saturday. I went to town on Thursday, so 2 days ago. When on my way out to the town, I made a mistake of turning on the radio. And a bigger mistake still was that the news was on. For some reason, I stayed tuned. Another bad decision, because there's never any good news on. I mean, maybe you can tell me if you have you ever turned on the news, tuned into the news, or if you have a TV? And I don't, and them saying, "Oh, all is well. The politicians have decided to work for their citizens. They're going to remove the taxes. They're not going to subsidize large corporations, and they're going to there's going to be no more fossil fuels." Never. It's always bad news. So it is now election year in Canada. I think at the end of this month, in fact, we're going to be voting. Not me. I haven't voted in the past 5 years or so, because basically, even the Green Party that I used to vote for, ever since they started to take on the side of the pharmaceuticals and the governments with the vaccines and that, I said, okay, thank you, no more. When they were at one time supposed to be for preventative and alternative to Western medicine. But anyway, so I don't vote anymore, so it doesn't matter to me. But the fact is that they're going around, the conventional news media is going around asking people what the issues are, what their issues are, what they're looking for in candidates and parties, different parties. And so I just wanted to, I don't know why I stay tuned, because I'm so out of touch with the city folks and the city life, and even my siblings, my brother, I shouldn't say siblings, my brother, and actually he's more in line with my way of thinking. I didn't know because we've never lived together. I don't, know, didn't know till just when I asked him what he's thinking, where his thinking is, what. Anyway, but other people around me in my orbit are not on the same wavelength, so I don't communicate with them either. So I thought, let's see what these people are saying on that they're being interviewed on the street, which is really also not a good indicator because, again, I don't listen to any kind of news, either alternatives to mainstream social media or mainstream social media. They all have their own agendas. I just try to go by my own intuition, what I think makes common sense, what I think is right. So anyway, they were talking about the cost of living. This cost of living, I'm sick and tired of hearing this cost of living, constant, incessant whining about the cost of living. I don't mean to offend. It's just, I just hear it all at that time. This is why I'm still worked up. 2 days later, I'm still worked up over it. So talking about there are people who are against the Canada or whatever other countries bringing in immigrants. Me, as a first-generation immigrant, I'm against not so much bringing new immigrants in, but I'm against bringing people that are non-contributing. It doesn't matter if it's in my own intentional community or the greater country or other people's countries. But I just want people that are going to come and adopt the country, help it, make it better, find it better than how leave it better than how they found it, as opposed to taking all its resources, all that stuff. So on some levels, I agree with those people that don't want new immigrants. On some levels, I only want immigrants that are going to be contributing and helpful, whatever. So I'm not saying no, and I'm not saying yes. But one guy was saying that immigrants, where he lives in big cities, obviously, where everybody wants to live, which is good. I don't want everyone here, but I'll tell you why I'm saying that. And that is because he was saying that 10 or however, three families move buy a house together, whereas he's a single earner, single family income, same as here. And he can't compete with three families living in one house because they can obviously afford to pay more for that, to purchase that house. Whereas him on a single income, he can't afford to pay the real estate costs. That, folks, I've lived in Canada for over 40 years, and that's how it's been since I moved here 40 years ago. Nothing's changed. I don't understand how people didn't see this coming. This is how it's always been for the past 40 years. This is mostly Asian cultures. Now, if the other cultures could get along, they could probably do the same thing. They could get together, buy a house. There's always a hot meal. There's always somebody to receive the kids, look after the kids. There's always income coming in, pay out the mortgage faster, move on, buy another house and another house and another house, and then eventually everyone will have their own house. But most cultures, we can't get along for 10 minutes to come unite long enough to buy a house together, even if it's for a greater good. So do I fault these Asians or other communities who do this? I don't. It's not their fault that they can get along, somehow put their differences aside for the fact that they can pool the resources, pay down this mortgage, finish the mortgage, and move on to the next house. And then they're also talking to someone else who lives in a house, and I actually have a niece, basically the same situation. 10 people living in a house, and they're whining about how expensive their rent is. Well, folks, the way I see it, if 10 people are renting one house and you're still having a hard time making ends meet, and I know that some, at least the ones that I know, are not hurting for cash. They have like regular jobs. And I have to ask, it's if the income that the income that you're earning is obviously not high enough to pay for your rent. Now, either you're living in a higher and higher scale, whatever neighborhood, or that anywhere in that big city is just expensive to live. Either which way, and it doesn't matter which it is, how is so much of your earnings going to your rent and you don't mind that? Only for the purpose of living in a big city. I don't understand that. Canada is the second biggest country on earth, and probably by just I don't know how much smaller it is than Russia. Can't be that much smaller. It's a beautiful country. It's a vast country, and yet people have chosen in Canada. I'm talking about. I don't know about other countries. Songbirds are coming back in here. Oh, I'm competing. If everyone in Canada, it doesn't matter if they just arrived to Canada or if they've been here for 100 years, everyone seems to want to live in a handful of countries, a handful of big cities. Well, it's supply and demand, folks. I mean, supply and demand's been around for thousands of years. If you have something that only 3 people offer, then the price is going to go up. I don't understand. It's stock market, same thing. It's a pie, and if you divide the pie into 2 pieces, now there's only two shares. If you divide it into a million pieces, there's a million shares. And then you have to see, do people want that? How many people want that? How many people don't want that? Why are some companies more expensive and desirable than other companies? It's just supply and demand. How many shares are on the market? Less shares on the market, higher the prices. More shares flooding the market, lower the prices. And so if you want to live in a polluted, loud, this is my personal belief. Obviously, they have their own. Regardless of the culture, if you want to live in a city with all its water pollution and the air pollution, the light pollution, the sound pollution, noise pollution, and the work policies, a high cost of living, because insurance and home insurance, car insurance and home insurance and life insurance is all pegged to where you live because of how dangerous it is and how many break-ins there are, or how many fires or whatever. If that's what you want, that's what you pay. You simply cannot live in London and pay, I don't know, name somewhere in England where it's cheap to live in. I don't know. Okay, how about this? You can't live in West London and pay North London or East London prices. You can't live in Manhattan and expect to pay Nebraska prices. Do you know what I'm saying? It's same as Canada. It's just the same rules apply anywhere on earth. If you live in one of the cities where 90% of people want to live, you're competing with those 90% of people. And they're going to, at least some of them are going to earn a lot more money than you do, or they have parents who can pay a lot more for their kids to put down a deposit or pay for their lavish lifestyle, whatever, than you can. Done. Now, I'm not suggesting that living here is paradise. There's no perfect place. I mean, tropical places, not necessarily islands, but any tropical locations get many, many, many multiples more in terms of lightning, parasites, hurricanes, but when you see a movie, what do you see? When you see postcards, what do you see? Beautiful blue skies and trees, and people bringing you the waiters bringing you your all-inclusive alcoholic beverages that you can drink all day long in the sun, and you're getting a tan, and people are braiding your hair. That's not what it's like all the time there. It's insane to think that it's not a paradise. And nowhere is it. Here's not a paradise. There is not a paradise. Manhattan's not a paradise. London is not a paradise. You have to figure out what trade-offs you're going to want to make. And but you write down the list. I don't know what's important to you. Write down the list, what it is that you can live with, what it is that you cannot live with, and then go according to that. And when you decide, if you've decided that the big cities are for you, then shut the up. You know what I mean? This whining isn't going to help you. It certainly isn't going to help me having to listen to it. Now I'm still 2 days later, I'm still trying to figure out what people are thinking. I've mentioned this before, and I will mention this every chance that I get. 20 years ago, in the most expensive province of Canada, British Columbia, we bought something like 15th of an acre. You remember that? For $100,000. That was 20 years ago. Today, right here where I'm standing, you can buy a full acre, an entire acre, not 1/15 of it, an entire acre for $15,000 still Canadian. That's 20 years later. I can only imagine how much that land is today. Somewhere in that same province, a few years ago, I had someone here, a guest, told me that land is $1 million an acre. That's still in Canada, in that same British Columbia. Mind you, it's in a sort of has really good soil, sort of like a river bed kind of a setting, but then they get flooded. When they get flooded, and that's basically all underwater. And that's probably why the soil is so rich, because of its delta or whatever. But my point is, you can pay $1 million an acre, you can pay $500,000 an acre, or you can pay $15,000 an acre. And if $15,000 an acre is too high for you, still in Canada, from where I'm standing, you can drive an hour, maybe an hour and a half, something like that, and still buy land for $1,000 an acre. Do you understand? You have to. If it's land you want, and you only have this much money, then you go according to what you got. Paying more than you can afford isn't going to help you. All day long, you're worried, how am I going to pay for this? Or my kid's going to inherit my mortgage. And also, if you get that $1,000 an acre land, you're still not, there's a reason, you understand that because I mentioned earlier, there's not much demand for it there. Well, you have to ask, why isn't there much demand for it? Well, it's in the middle of nowhere, super secluded. If this is rural, that's like almost in another planet. You're just there by yourself, completely isolated. Safety, it could be a question. I don't know. I don't know what's there. I'm not there, and I'm not looking to be that secluded. As much as I like. Can you hear them? They're coming back. As much as I love this, I mean, I'm already driving 45 minutes to the nearest town, or an hour and a half to a bigger town. As soon as I stop talking, they stop talking. They stop chirping. Anyway, so yeah, figure out what it is that you want, and don't look back. Make your decision and stick with it. It's not. I think the chickadees. I love it. They're coming back. I can't wait. Next week's going to be kind of miserable. See, I mentioned everything. I'm showing you snow in second week of April, so you know this is no paradise. I love it. You may not. Next week, we're going to get more snow. We're going to get a lot of rain. I won't be able to go outside and get on with my work in the forest. I'm letting you know. I'm trying to be honest. I'm not you watching this channel, subscribing to it, liking it, whatever it. It makes me no money. I've not made a penny from this channel. I'm just letting you know honestly pros and cons of everything that I've gone through. Story of my life. Going back to this structure that person was asking, what if there's a forest fire? And I feel really sad and bad for other parts of the country, even Canada, where they get forest fires, which is also in that super expensive province of British Columbia. A lightning, I don't want to say degenerate, but I don't know how else to describe someone that flicks their cigarette butts into the forest or anywhere. But anyway, that's how the biggest forest fire there started 22 years ago. Burnt down, I don't know how many hundreds of hectares. And hectare is 2.5 acres. Each hectare is 2.5 acres. So the question was, what if there's a forest fire here? And because this is all wooden structure mostly. And I have to, that's a very good question. And what if? So it's a chance. I was just explaining about where you live. You have to decide what you want. It's a chance you take. What if a tree falls on it? I'm only, there's even a big maple tree behind it, maybe not just 10 feet away. And if that maple tree comes down, I could end up with two structures like that. You know what I mean? It can happen. You have to decide what it is what your tolerance is for hardship, what your tolerance is for the noise or whatever that is in the city, your neighbors, work policies, whatever. I've decided that I'm okay if this burns down. Maybe I'll turn it into Phoenix, rising from the ash and rebuild it. I don't know. There's such a thing as insurance. Insurance is cheaper here than in the city. So if you have fire insurance, then that cost is covered. Now there's a question of where are you able to find laborers to help you build this thing? Maybe not. Maybe I'll be at a different stage of my life. I don't know. Maybe I'll have that intentional community started by then. I'll have more hands. I don't know. It can happen. There are no guarantees in life, really anywhere. They say you can drown in your tub. They say there's more of a chance that you can die in an accident on your way to the airport than a chance of an airplane crashing. All of that. I don't know. I'm just saying I hope it doesn't burn down. I love it. I love what we use this for. In case you haven't seen that video, is that for like small weddings, get-togethers. The intention for building it was to have like a events, more sort of intimate gatherings, indoor, outdoor sort of. I mean, I say indoor because it's indoors, but it's not insulated or heated. Excuse me. But it's more for really 2 seasons or maybe 3 seasons at the most to do yoga in. There's a video on it. Do crafts. You can come in like as a workspace. Someone wants to write their novel in there. Right now, I have my whimsical things that I make, stools and tabletops and whatever. And so I hope it's a happy place, and I hope, and I've stained it all white inside, so it looks really pure. In addition, I mean, I love the contrast. This is naturally this color. The wood when it's fresh is a different color. I think in that video because as we built it, it was fresh. You could see it. There's a different color. If I scratch this, just the surface of it, just a little bit, you'll see underneath is the same color wood that you would see, fresh lumber wood. And then over years, it turns to this gorgeous, silvery gray color, which I love. So I left this as if it's been here for hundreds of years. And inside, I stained it white to make it more pure and bright, even though it has, I don't know how many, I think I counted how many windows it has. It has something like maybe 40 windows. It's only 450 square feet. Probably from where you are, you might be able to see the end of it. It's a fairly square building, and it's just flooded by lights everywhere. Anyway, if you're going to not take a chance on doing things like building this structure, either because you're worried about fire, which an illuminary once told me, an elder, a respected elder, once told me that don't even think like that. Don't even invite those bad thoughts that what if someone trips over a root and falls and sues you, or a tree can fall on it, or fire or whatever. My point is, if you think you can cover all the bases, and I honestly don't know anyone that can, to be so extra cautious like that and stop living, because you can't be sure, no 100% certainty. Very rarely there's something you can be 100% sure of. But if you're waiting for something that's 100% sure before you take a chance, I don't know if you'll ever leave your house. You know, my advice to you is that decide at some point in your life. You have to decide to take chance. I take chances all the time, so it's different. I think I'm wired differently than perhaps most people. More like entrepreneurs or discoverers. I don't want to say inventors because things have always been there. They just haven't been discovered yet. We're a breed of people that are taking chances all the time, regardless of how little to no money resources we have, or how physically we might not be able to do. We don't stop taking chances. So I know that I'm different than an average person, but you might be, if you're worried about a forest fire, which we've never had here in our region, but it's not to say that it's not going to happen. What I mean is, when you hear climate change, climate is changing. So who knows? We might have a dry summer this year, and we might have our first forest fire ever. I don't want to think about it, but if it burns down, I mean, I'm happy with what I built here. This and the main building, and the clubhouse, and the chicken coop. I love them all. I love all my structures. To think that it's not getting used maybe as much as I would like it to, or what if it catches on fire somehow? What if a smoker, which I don't allow anyone here smoking, but who knows, if I'm not here, what someone could come and do, I don't know. But start living at least a little bit. Take a little bit of chance. If you're not used to it, connect with people that are like that, so you can at least take baby steps and come out and live before it's too late and that you're maybe too old to do that. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say for today. I don't think I have anything. I won't be able to go out next week for the next few days because of the bad weather, and so I'm not going to be. I wanted to make videos on our lovely brooks that I have around the property that are so healing in power. And if I have one, like a little meditation one, that shows for a little tiny bit of time, my time next to my brook that's only maybe 50 feet away from my house. Just a little streamy, meandering brook. It sounds amazing. But the ones that I was going to go and videotape for you are bigger and faster rush of water. And I won't be able to do it this year because it's just, even though it's not so much that it's cold, but it's not going to be cold, not for me anyway, warmer than today, but it's just going to be raining and kind of miserable. And I honestly don't want to get my only camera damaged, or it's not waterproof. It's not an action cam. So I don't want it to damage, and I won't be able to bring you any more videos. All right, well, as I say, not my saying, but I like to repeat, think outside. Box not required. Bye, folks.